At 78, David Gilmour, the iconic guitarist of Pink Floyd, has recently shared insights about a topic that has intrigued Pink Floyd fans for decades. In a candid interview, Gilmour revealed the true reasons behind the band's dramatic breakup in the 1980s, uncovering the intense power struggles, underlying resentments, and creative clashes that led to the end of one of rock history's greatest bands. Gilmour's revelations explain why his former bandmate Roger Waters ultimately drove Pink Floyd to its downfall. What exactly fueled this dramatic conflict, and what secrets has David Gilmour finally unveiled? Join us as we delve into the real story behind Pink Floyd's breakup, told by the man who witnessed it all. David Gilmour, the legendary guitarist and vocalist of Pink Floyd, was born on March 6, 1946, in Cambridge, England. His full name, David John Gilmour, and his upbringing in a well-educated, artistic, and musical family shaped his future career in music. His father, Douglas Gilmour, was a senior lecturer in zoology at the University of Cambridge, and his mother, Sylvia, trained as a teacher and later worked as a film editor for the BBC. When Gilmour was born, his family lived in Trumpington, Cambridgeshire, and in 1956, after several relocations, they settled in nearby Grantchester. Gilmour's parents supported his interest in music, and in 1954 he bought his first single, Bill Haley's Rock Around the Clock. His enthusiasm deepened the following year when he discovered Elvis Presley's Heartbreak Hotel and the Everly Brothers' Bye Bye Love. He borrowed a guitar from a neighbor, which he never returned, and soon after, he began teaching himself to play using a book and record set by Pete Seeger. At age 11, Gilmour attended the Perse School on Hills Road, Cambridge, where he met future Pink Floyd members Syd Barrett and Roger Waters, who went to Cambridgeshire High School for boys on the same road. In 1962, Gilmour started studying A-level modern languages at the Cambridgeshire College of Arts and Technology, though he did not complete the course. Despite this, he eventually became fluent in French. Barrett also attended the college, and during lunchtimes, he practiced guitar with Gilmour. In late 1962, Gilmour joined the blues rock band Joker's Wild, which recorded a one-sided album and single at Regent Sound Studio in West London, though only 50 copies were produced. In 1967, Gilmour traveled to France with Rick Wills and Willie Wilson, former Joker's Wild members, where they performed as Flowers and then Bullet. The trio had little commercial success, and after their equipment was stolen, they returned to the UK. Gilmour provided lead vocals on 2 songs for the soundtrack of the film, 2 Weeks in September, starring Brigitte Bardot, in 1967. Later that year, Pink Floyd, made up of Gilmour's Cambridge schoolmates Barrett and Waters, with Nick Mason and Richard Wright, released their debut album, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn. In May, Gilmour returned briefly to London to replace equipment. He watched Pink Floyd record See Emily Play, and was surprised to find that Barrett, then struggling with mental health issues, barely recognized him. By late 1967, as Barrett's condition deteriorated, Waters, Mason, and Wright invited Gilmour to join Pink Floyd. Initially brought in to support Barrett, Gilmour soon became the band's primary guitarist as Barrett's struggles worsened. By March 1968, Barrett left the band, allowing Pink Floyd to move away from singles and focus on live performances, contributing to innovations in sound and lighting. After recording several soundtrack albums, the band entered the American charts with Atom Heart Mother, 1970, and Medal, 1971. These albums combined thematic elements and extended instrumental passages, establishing Pink Floyd's reputation in the conceptual album genre. Their 1973 release, The Dark Side of the Moon, explored mortality and emotional collapse, fueled by Waters' dark lyrics. The album achieved massive commercial success and stayed on the American pop charts for over a decade. Wish You Were Here, 1975, including the song, Shine On You Crazy Diamond, for Barrett, topped charts in the US and UK, though it received mixed reviews from critics. By the late 1970s, Gilmour felt his musical contributions were underused by Pink Floyd. In 1978, he released his first solo album, David Gilmour, showcasing his guitar skills and songwriting. Music created during the album's final stages, though unused, later became Comfortably Numb on Pink Floyd's The Wall, 1979. Tensions between Gilmour and Waters worsened during the making of The Wall and The Final Cut. The negative atmosphere led Gilmour to produce his second solo album, About Face, 1984, where he expressed feelings on various topics, including his relationship with Waters and the murder of John Lennon. Gilmour's subsequent tour was supported by the television personalities, though they were dismissed after the singer revealed Barrett's address on stage. Mason made a guest appearance on the UK tour leg, which, despite some cancellations, ultimately succeeded. After the tour, Gilmour collaborated with artists like the Dream Academy, co-writing their hit, Life in a Northern Town, in 1986, and contributed to Roy Harper's The Unknown Soldier, where Harper appeared as a guest at Gilmour's concert at Hammersmith Odeon. In 1985, Gilmour collaborated on Brian Ferry's album, Boys and Girls, and provided music for the Ridley Scott film, Legend. In recent years, Gilmour has finally revealed what fans have long questioned: what led to Pink Floyd's ultimate separation? While years of creative differences, personal conflicts, and external pressures had created tension, it was Waters who ultimately drove the band apart. By the late 1970s, Waters had become the band's leading creative force, writing most of the material and shaping the band's direction. His dominance began with The Dark Side of the Moon, and continued with albums like Wish You Were Here and Animals, 1977. As Waters assumed control, internal conflicts intensified. He favored concept-heavy albums, culminating in The Wall, 1979, and The Final Cut, 1983, but his growing control stifled the band's collaborative spirit, especially for Gilmour. During The Wall's recording, Waters demanded keyboardist Richard Wright's dismissal, blaming him for creative conflicts. Wright agreed to leave but continued as a session musician for the tour, deepening the band's divisions and highlighting Waters' control. Though Gilmour contributed significantly to The Wall, he felt sidelined. The Final Cut, initially intended as The Wall film's soundtrack, became a Waters solo album in all but name, with minimal involvement from other band members. The release of this album was seen as a turning point for Pink Floyd, bringing to light the creative rift growing within the band. In 1985, Roger Waters officially departed from the group, convinced that the band could not continue without him and anticipating that it would disband. However, David Gilmour, Nick Mason, and eventually Richard Wright decided to carry on using the Pink Floyd name. This led to a legal dispute as Waters sought to prevent the remaining members from using the band's name. The matter was ultimately resolved out of court, with Gilmour and Mason retaining rights to the Pink Floyd name, while Waters gained control over certain rights, including those related to The Wall. After Waters' departure, Gilmour took on a leadership role, and Pink Floyd released A Momentary Lapse of Reason in 1987. Although the album achieved commercial success, it garnered mixed reviews, with some fans and critics viewing it more as a Gilmour solo project than a true Pink Floyd record. The band's final studio album featuring the classic lineup, The Division Bell, focused on themes of communication and reconciliation. The album was well received and commercially successful, but it also marked the end of Pink Floyd's active recording career. In 2001 and 2002, Gilmour performed a series of 6 acoustic solo concerts in London and Paris with a small band and choir, documented in the In Concert release. On September 24, 2004, he performed a 3-song set at the Strat Pack concert at London's Wembley Arena to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Fender Stratocaster. On July 2, 2005, Pink Floyd reunited with Waters to perform at Live 8. This performance generated a spike in sales for Pink Floyd's compilation album, Echoes, The Best of Pink Floyd. Gilmour donated his profits from this to charities aligned with Live 8's goals, stating that while the concert aimed to raise awareness and put pressure on G8 leaders, he would not profit from the performance. He encouraged other Live 8 artists to do the same. Despite the concert's success, Pink Floyd declined a lucrative offer to tour the US afterward. In 2006, Gilmour indicated that Pink Floyd would likely not tour or produce new material, saying, "I think enough is enough. I am 60 years old, I don't have the will to work as much anymore. Pink Floyd was an important part of my life. I have had a wonderful time, but it's over for me." He expressed a preference for working solo, and on his 60th birthday, he released his 3rd solo album, On an Island. Featuring contributions from Wright and lyrics by Gilmour's wife, Polly Samson. The album debuted at number 1 on the UK Albums Chart and became his first solo album to enter the US Top 10, reaching number 6 on the Billboard 200. On September 21, 2011, On an Island was certified gold in Canada, with sales surpassing 50,000 copies. Gilmour toured Europe, the US, and Canada in May 2006, accompanied by Wright and Pink Floyd collaborators Dick Parry, Guy Pratt, and John Kerrin. The final show was documented in Remember That Night, Live at the Royal Albert Hall, released on September 17, 2007. For this performance, Gilmour was joined by a 38-piece string section from the Polish Baltic Philharmonic Orchestra, released as Live in Gdansk in 2008. In December 2006, Gilmour released a tribute to Pink Floyd's founding member Syd Barrett, who had passed away that year, with a live rendition of Pink Floyd's first single, Unraveling, performed at London's Royal Albert Hall. Featuring versions by Wright and David Bowie, it reached number 19 on the UK singles chart in early 2007. Later that year, Gilmour brought his touring band back together and spent a week recording in a barn on his farm, with some of these recordings appearing on later solo albums. On May 25, 2009, Gilmour joined Amadou and Mariam at the Union Chapel in Islington, London, for a Hidden Gigs campaign concert to raise awareness about hidden homelessness. On July 4, Gilmour joined his friend Jeff Beck on stage at the Royal Albert Hall, trading solos on Jerusalem, and closing the show with Hi-Ho Silver Lining. In August 2009, Gilmour released an online single, Chicago, Change the World, to raise awareness for Gary McKinnon, accused of hacking, with Chrissie Hynde and Bob Geldof contributing. It was produced by Pink Floyd collaborator Chris Thomas. On July 11, 2010, Gilmour performed at a charity event for the Hoping Foundation with Waters, leading many onlookers to believe the two had resolved their long-standing feud. Gilmour later joined Waters to perform Comfortably Numb on May 12, 2011, at London's O2 Arena, with Nick Mason appearing alongside them. In October, Gilmour collaborated with electronic duo The Orb, releasing the album Metallic Spheres. On November 7, 2014, Pink Floyd released The Endless River, with Gilmour declaring it their last studio album, noting that it felt complete but final without Wright. In August 2015, he reiterated that Pink Floyd was finished and felt that a reunion without Wright would be inappropriate. Gilmour released his fourth solo album, Rattle That Lock, in September 2015. The BBC Two documentary, David Gilmour, Wider Horizons, aired on November 14, 2015, offering fans an intimate look at his life and career. On September 13, 2017, Gilmour's live album and film, Live at Pompeii, which documented two July 2016 performances at the ancient Pompeii Amphitheatre, premiered in select cinemas. It was released on September 29, 2017, and reached number 3 on the UK Albums Chart. In honor of the event, Pompeii's mayor made Gilmour an honorary citizen. Despite ongoing musical accomplishments, Gilmour and Waters' contentious relationship continued, with public disagreements over issues such as album reissues and the use of Pink Floyd's website and social media. In 2018, Mason, who maintained a close relationship with both, commented that Waters' view placed writing above the instrumental and vocal performances central to Gilmour's contributions. Beginning in April 2020, Gilmour and his family appeared in several live streams, covering songs by Syd Barrett and Leonard Cohen. In July 2020, he released Yes, I Have Ghosts, his first single in 5 years, with lyrics by Samson and featuring his daughter Romany. In early 2023, Gilmour's wife, Polly Samson, caused a stir by calling Waters anti-Semitic and various other things on Twitter, a statement Gilmour supported publicly. In April 2022, Gilmour and Mason reformed Pink Floyd to release Hey Hey Rise Up, a one-time song protesting Russia's invasion of Ukraine. According to Music Radar, Gilmour's reputation continues to resonate strongly among classic rock audiences and younger guitar enthusiasts. He's often seen as bridging the styles of Jimi Hendrix and Eddie Van Halen. Writer Billy Sefong noted that, though not as flamboyant as Hendrix or Jimmy Page, Gilmour's guitar playing remains celebrated for its emotional depth. Gilmour was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1996 with Pink Floyd and has been listed among the greatest guitarists of all time by Rolling Stone and The Daily Telegraph. His influence is widely acknowledged by contemporary guitarists like Steve Rothery of Marillion and John Mitchell of It Bites an Arena. Gary Kemp of Spandau Ballet and Nick Mason, Saucerful of Secrets, has praised Gilmour's work on The Dark Side of the Moon, suggesting it makes him one of the finest guitar players in recent history. David Gilmour's legacy as a musician, songwriter, and producer is vast, with contributions to both Pink Floyd and his solo work leaving a lasting impact on rock music history.